Right. So thank you to ACAMP for the opportunity to speak to everybody here. It's good to see some new companies, and I hope each of you will take an opportunity to look through this rundown of the Alberta medical and technology companies. I see in there probably we've invested in 6 companies from AVAC's perspective over time. Another 7 we've seen and for one reason or another passed on. Not because they're not good businesses, but because they don't fit the investment strategy.
Unfortunately, ACAMP wasn't mentioned in that.
You weren't?
No.
Oh, okay. ACAMP should be mentioned in this. And there's another 3 we're looking at quite seriously in connection with that you'll find in that magazine as well. So take a moment to look at that. What does vice president mean? It means I get to work with 6 investment team members who cover the Alberta deal flow. That means that we have a pre-investment and a post-investment interaction with all our investees. So my involvement is working with those investment managers on special situations, either pre or post. And you know, it's a natural extension of what I love to do. I love to come and meet new companies, interact with the entrepreneurial spirit. Even though this is the worst quarter, I think now Q3 was the worst quarter for VC investment since the 90s, mid-90s. I think there's still entrepreneurship that continues unabated, and what draws me to be at AVAC is that the team has an opportunity to add value to that entrepreneurial effort at the early stage level. So happy to be here and talk more about AVAC. 2 things. I'll just run down a quick corporate overview, and then in connection with all the other members of the financing rainbow here today, talk a little bit more about some of our non-dilutive benefits, or benefits being associated with the non-dilutive investor as the continuum is bridged from research and development to full-fledged company operations or venture investment. Oops, that's the wrong one there. I'll take this one. Come on, Ken, which one is it? Right one? There we go. Okay. Wow, so that's nice. Okay. All right, so AVAC is a private Alberta corporation. One thing that's not up there is that we're a not-for-profit, but the distinguishing feature about AVAC as a not-for-profit is we want our money back. And the way we do that is a royalty based on sales, right? So we're a contingent risk-taking investor, and at the point where the company commercializes the technology, we receive a repayment. And so we limit our upside, unlike the VC community, to a 2x on the capital invested. And on that basis, we reinvest into companies that would be here again today. So that's our business investment model. We established 10 years ago largely around the sort of agricultural technology and agri-value-based investment. And 2 years ago, the province funded a specific allocation targeted to advanced materials, including the medical technology sector, including IT and hardware type ventures. So we've added a team to add that assessment into the deal flow, and we're based on a fundamental operational team rooted in budget line accountability, some academic-based training and involvement, PhD levels in chemistry and biochemistry. And we also have an industry-based board of directors that review and approve ultimately those investments. So we make non-dilutive investments, meaning we don't hold equity or debt. And so that's the difference between our approach and that of the venture community who invest typically after our involvement or sometimes in conjunction with our involvement. But ultimately, we look to round out the capacity of those investees with managerial capital, intellectual capital, as well as the actual cash itself. So we're interested in attracting other management to the company. We're interested in attracting those skills that can contribute intellectually to the market-facing activities of the company. So the company has to be approaching market entry and have a proof of concept in place that allows the company to reach revenue, because that's ultimately how we get paid, right? So ultimately, we've had a lot of activity in the agri-value space, right? So we've invested in over 100 companies in agri-value, 32 companies which have generated since our investment time $343 million in revenue. And we have a separate allocation set aside for research that was prearranged through the province to manage specific agricultural research projects. But ultimately, most of our investment activity is strictly based on commercial investment for repayment. The capacity builder is a reference to distinguish between agri-value and the rest of the other sectors that I talked about previously. So this would be the IT, the medical device, the hardware, and or advanced materials and manufacturing processes. We went out hard 2 years ago, found $18 million worth of deals in 19 companies, 3 of these being at market and already generating about $4 million in revenue. So we got a mandate to get out and find those companies, and we went out aggressively to do that. We did have a separate allocation, and this is through Ryan's ministry, the Alberta Advanced Education and Technology, to enter in as a limited partner in venture funds. So these 3 venture funds, Avrio Ventures, Inovia Capital, and Yaletown Ventures, are covering the Alberta, not limited to Alberta, but covering the Alberta deal flow, as well as obviously a national footprint. So that's part of a separate allocation of $22 million that was set aside for that specific activity, and provided total access to capital in theory of $269 million. Of course, every deal competes on that merit, so you have to get out and compete for that 269 along with the national deal flow availability. But ultimately, what we're interested in, of course, is that they do conduct Alberta-based deals, and 3 of those deals have now occurred in that span of 2 years, which was ultimately part of the mission. I'm going to have to address my font. I'm a little bit of a font futzer, but that could have been improved somewhat. Ultimately, between the allocations from Advanced Education and Technology and the Ministry of Agriculture, we've had $124 million in commitments. Almost 20% of that on the agri-value side has yet to be allocated. We'll probably do somewhere in terms of a target of $7 to $8 million in agri-value this year, ending next March. On the capacity builder side, I mentioned that we went out hard, did $18 million in deals. That has somewhat been gated by funds forthcoming from the province relative to the current budget year. And we're still hoping, actually it's $13 million still pending placement, probably, hopefully in 2010 that we'll be able to roll out and get aggressive with deploying that, including in the medical technology sector for companies here today. We will do probably 2 or 3 deals by the end of March, that notwithstanding. However, I tend to hear, just take a minute to pause, I do tend to hear, oh, well, AVAC's out of money, so don't bother talking to them. And, that couldn't be further from the truth, right? So we set aside a reserve, both in the agri-value and the, call it capacity builder side for technologies that would continue as follow-on investments. And we are, managing the deal flow to, critically evaluate what would be the best opportunities going forward. So, we will do deals this year. They just won't be on the bench strength of the previous year's allocation.